It was a lovely afternoon. I remember it perfectly. The summer sky went from a vibrant purple to a crimson red as the sun began to set. Like most of my days, I spent it hiking, collecting firewood, and preparing for a good night's meal. Rocky Mountain, Colorado was a paradise for me. It had everything I ever wanted as a man in the later years of my life. Solitude and peace. But in these woods, the hooded camper was always near, and I live to tell the tale. On this particular night, I was keeping to myself and getting cozy by the fire, when suddenly, I heard a snapping twig in the distance. I perked up and sat still to heighten my senses. I sighed when I realized what it was. It was one of those stupid drunk kids who were causing a ruckus earlier that morning. Summertime was beautiful, but the one downside, besides all the bugs, were loud, obnoxious teenagers who partied a bit too much and got too high during summer vacation.
Excuse me,
said the young man.
Sorry to bother you, but we haven't been able to start a fire. Could we borrow some of yours? We have some wood, but can't seem to get it going.
Oh my God. He can't be serious, I thought to myself as I turned around. Are you crazy, boy? You can't just be walking around the woods with some fire. I sighed. My years of isolation didn't do me any favors in improving how I interacted with people.
Oh, sorry for bothering you, man. I'll go ask someone else.
The kid slowly backed away, but as he turned around, I noticed something in his other hand. A book. And I recognized the cover. Classic Campfire Stories, written by William Forgey. Hey kid, I shouted back before he faded from the light of my fire.
Yeah,
he muttered as he sharply turned back. You like stories, huh?
Yeah, my dad gave me this when I was 10. Anyway, have a good night, sir.
I stopped him for one last time. What's your name, kid? The boy hesitated.
It's Jacob.
I slowly stood up, wrapped the blanket around me, and smiled. Tell you what, Jacob, it's gonna be a bit of a cold night. How about you bring your friends here and I'll tell you a campfire story that you won't find in any published book. His eyes lit up.
Really? Yeah, that sounds awesome. Thank you.
William, I replied. You can call me Will, though.
Okay, Will. I'm not sure if my friends would be down to hang out here, but if not, I'd be happy to come back and hear your story.
Don't be too long, I replied, as he slowly disappeared into the darkness. I sat there in silence as I waited for Jacob to return with his friends. After what must have been 10 minutes, I finally heard the sound of snapping twigs, and the smell of cannabis grew stronger in the air. Eventually, I could see 3 other individuals behind Jacob, walking into the clearing. I laughed at the group and shouted, So, you guys were able to light up your grass, but you couldn't even get a fire going? Rocky Mountain High, baby! Jacob chuckled in embarrassment.
Yeah, we lost our lighter. Or rather, Tommy did.
Shut up, Jakey boy, or I'm gonna leave you behind when we get back to Denver. It appeared Tommy was joking, but there was an underlying threat in his tone when he spoke to Jacob.
Okay, guys, this is Will. Will, this is Tommy, his girlfriend Trisha, and that's Austin.
Hi, Will,
said the young lady.
I really appreciate you letting us warm up here.
No problem. It's nice to meet you all. Please, have a seat. Austin reached for a beer in his bag and turned to me. So, old man, Jacob said you'd be sharing some creepy camping stories. I nodded, but before I could even begin the story, Austin grabbed the book from Jacob and began passing it to Tommy over the fire. Guess we won't be needing this now, right, Jacob?
What the fuck, dude? Give it back,
cried Jacob, as the two boys continued passing the book to each other over the fire. Trisha laughed.
Aren't you gonna take it back? Come on, Jacob.
I snatched the book from the air and turned to Austin. Are you here to listen to a story? If not, you can either sit here quietly by the warm fire and listen, or you can fucking leave. Am I clear here? I slowly smiled, seeing that everyone had tensed up, and began laughing. Now, this is a more fitting setting to tell a story. I slowly took a swig from my flask and took a deep breath. Have any of you heard the story of the hooded camper? Everyone shook their heads. It's a local legend. Some say there was an escaped convict from Boulder. Others say he was an old park ranger from Lakewood who went insane and began his killing spree there. But no one has ever found him or any trace of him. Bullshit, muttered Tommy. I've never heard of this story. I continued to stir my pot of chili and stared at him. Perhaps you haven't, but you've definitely heard of his victims. Do you remember that family that went missing here a couple years back? Austin perked up. Oh yeah, the Gilberts. The oldest kid was my cousin Senior. Such a tragedy, man.
Yeah, wasn't that a cold case?
Replied Jacob.
I mean, police never found a suspect.
Exactly. But the police did question the nearby campers. And guess what they learned?
I'm covering my ears. I don't want to hear this.
Cried Tommy's girlfriend. There were witnesses who mentioned a person dressed in a dirty camo jacket with a black hood covering over his face. But without any other information, he was never found. The campfire stood silent in the night until Jacob spoke up.
But wait, how do people know this hooded camper is the same person behind these cases?
I never said he was. Some believe the hooded camper is the ghost of a vengeful spirit that takes residence in the bodies of fellow campers. Others say he can change his face into the form of those he kills. Nobody really knows. But one thing's certain about him. He always leaves someone alive to tell the tale. Tommy took another puff from his joint. Dude, that's hella creepy. So wait, you're saying you've seen him, old man? I sat silent for a second. Yes, I've seen him. Well, if he ever comes near me, I'm throwing Jacob at him.
Yeah, fuck you too, Tommy.
Jacob turned his attention back to me.
Where did you see him, Will?
I saw him by the lake. It's actually not too far from here. Holy shit, said Austin. How long ago was this, Will? I saw him today. I could see everyone's blood turn cold. Wait, hold up. What the fuck, dude? Why are you still here then, man? Why are we still here? Tommy stood up. Dude, this guy is totally fucking with us. You guys aren't seriously falling for this, right?
I don't care, Tommy. We're getting the hell out of here.
I continued to sit there in silence. It was fun seeing these guys get freaked out. But Jacob gave me a different look. He looked deep into my eyes, and I think at that moment, he knew. And it was then that I stood up, taking off the blanket I had wrapped myself in. And then they finally saw what I was wearing underneath. a dirty camouflage jacket, as I held my machete in one hand and pulled up my black hood with the other. Shrieks of terror echoed into the woods as they scattered like cockroaches. But they didn't get too far. The first was the screaming bitch, and the next was her boyfriend. I wanted to make sure he saw her die before his very eyes. The other two, in a panic shock, ran into the woods. The blood trail, however, made it very easy to find them. I stood silent in the trees as they fumbled through their bags. I knew their time was ticking.
Where did you put the fucking keys, Austin?
Cried Jacob as they began tearing the campsite apart. Fuck! I let Tommy use it when he went to grab his stash. Fuck! Jingle, 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 jingle. I spun the keys around my fingers as I slowly walked into the camp. In a blazing panic, Austin grabbed Jacob and shoved him in my direction, trying to slow me down. But it didn't matter. I pushed Jacob aside and threw my blade in a straight line. That idiot didn't stand a chance. Jacob was now frozen in fear. But as the seconds passed, I think he began to realize what his fate would be. I stood over him as blood continued to drip down to his face. I didn't lie to you, Jacob. I see him every day. I see him when I look into my reflection at the lake. In these woods, the hooded camper is always near. And now, you also live to tell the tale.
Please leave your message